Hello and welcome to Filmfolket's podcast. We that speaks today is Göran,
Johannes,
Ragnar, Tommy.
Today's movie is The Mummy Returns from 2002. The movie in brief.
5,000 years ago, the Scorpion King leads his army to conquer, but he's defeated, driven into the desert of Amsher to die. In desperation, he enters a pact with Anubis to get control of his army and to take vengeance in return for his soul. We return to Egypt in 1933. Rick and Evie have married and had a son. Evie, driven by strange dreams and visions of ancient times, is drawn to more tombs to explore, finding the bracelet of Anubis. Meanwhile, the cult of Imhotep, led by Milanais, the reincarnation of Anaxenamun, digs at Hamunaptra, seeking to resurrect Imhotep and pit him against the Scorpion King to take control of Anubis' army and conquer the world. They too need the bracelet to awaken Anubis' soldiers.
That is a good summary. It's interesting how they have rewritten the story and made it so that this main character is part of the ancient Egyptian in some ways. So I didn't remember this part when I watched it the first time many years ago. But it's kind of interesting in a way.
Yes, they make the connection that Evie is the reincarnation of Nefertiri, I think, who is then the pharaoh's daughter and witness to his murder. But through this, she also awakens some ability to fight, which is interesting.
Muscle memories.
Yeah, especially when in the last movie she was more as a bookworm, and now she awakened the ability to fight like a warrior.
But she did learn to fight a little bit from her husband.
Yeah, but you get my drift.
Yeah. When they decided that Evie was supposed to be Nefertiri, they didn't put any scene where Imhotep would actually recognize her too. Like she was a pretty big part of that society he was a part of. But neither in this movie or the last movie he seemed to recognize her. A bit of a plot hole, if you ask me.
Yep, I can see what you mean there. And I agree.
Good.
That's the part about how Rick is part of the Magi society, and then you have to wonder, is he the child of a Magi soldier or something like that? And it's not really explored. It's more like a plot device for him to be able to fight the Scorpion King.
A random MacGuffin.
Yeah, they add things a little ad hoc in this movie, but otherwise it's pretty competently made.
Didn't they mention that he got the tattoo from somewhere?
An orphanage in Cairo, he said.
Yeah.
But that's all.
So
It was still a fun ride, but there was a lot of holes in all of the logic.
but did they specify if he was an orphan or he just went there for some reason and someone just, hey, I'm gonna give you a tattoo with a stamp on his fucking hand?
It's implied he grew up there, so.
Okay.
He and his family took a vacation to an orphanage in Cairo. Just because.
I was thinking like he was just going through a town and there was an orphanage and someone tried to kill him and he just ran through there and tripped. Now he has a tattoo.
Drive-by tattooing.
Yeah.
And I also like it that they have continued with this movie, that it feels a little bit like Indiana Jones. And also that some part of the nastiness in this movie makes me a little bit think of the Temple of Doom, with all the insects from that movie.
When it comes to nastiness and like deaths and stuff, This movie was more tame than the first movie, I think. Not as much like on screen, like what do you call it, torture and death.
It was quicker in this movie.
Yeah, felt like it was more made for a younger audience than the first movie.
Made by the same director and writer, so it's there's continuity there.
And I also feel like Imhotep was stronger to get his power back in this one, because he was able to like quickly suck the energy out of the victims. But in the last movie, he needed more help to be able to get back.
Yes, this time he has his cult at his side who help him. And there was one thing about that I kind of figured was a little strange. They're on the train, and you have these hired thieves that are supposed to reclaim the box of canopic jars, and like from the first movie. And it's pretty outright stated that these are cursed objects. They're tied to Imhotep, just like last time when he came after the Americans. And the idea is basically that these thieves are being sacrificed. They're being led into Imhotep's cart, and Mila tells them to open the box. Tells them that Imhotep wants them to open the box, so they do. Through this, they get the curse, and he gets basically the license to drain them and restore himself. That's a plot point that doesn't really go anywhere, because it would imply that his first state, his Homdai, is still active, while it clearly isn't. He is under different rules now, and he has different powers, and well, he's technically a weaker creature, but he isn't reduced in that way. He's just it's the one single instance he's still under Homdai rules. I think that's interesting.
Another plot hole.
And also it feels like a little bit funny that he reuses some of the old tricks from the last movie. Instead of the sand face, we have the water face, which is kind of silly but funny.
Yeah, I love those faces. They look funny.
Yes, if we're talking about special effects, this is a movie from the early 2000s, and accordingly the effects can get a little awkward, but in other places they look pretty good, and it's a very, very wide gap in between, so to speak. You have this water face that's really grainy in some areas, and you have the Anubis soldiers who are very detailed, and then you have the rather infamous instance of the Scorpion King himself in his scorpion centaur form that's really awkward and weirdly glossy. It's like the budget for CGI really ran out at that point.
I wish I remember what was said in the Corridor Digital animators react to that scene, because you had the animator supervisor to comment on that scene, but I don't really remember. I think they said it was really, really, really rushed. I think they had just a couple of weeks in 2000, like, and the water effects like for early 2000. I'd give it a pass.
I was wondering what could have been done differently and other thoughts.
Most of the CGI.
Yeah, but like you said, it was probably due to rushed work. And I feel like the movie has pacing problems, because sometimes they rush a whole hell of a lot, and then it slows down, and then they rush it again. And then we get all these small plot holes.
Yeah.
And all these plot holes is basically, you can see how they're trying to patch a story together. Like they have the original story, and then but we want to do this, but then we're gonna patch this together, and super rushed. So that's my biggest pet peeve, I guess, with this movie.
Yeah, when I watched this movie again, and we were watching the other movie the last week, and in my head it didn't make sense, but when they are trying to like patch these two stories together, I mean it has potentials to be a good movie, but there is a lot of plot holes.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the patchwork, it works, but you kind of okay, pass. But yeah,
It's an adequate, fun adventure movie, but it's pretty obvious it's been rushed. I wanted to say that there's some great costume design, especially with Imhotep's cult, with these red turbans and everything, and there's also Mila's sleeves, this Anaxonomon's reincarnation. She has this dress with the sleeves, and the holes in the sleeves are evocative of her body paint as her ancient self. I think that's a really interesting detail. Design choice. The music is made by Alan Silvestri, who builds upon Goldsmith's work but doesn't really reuse it. He's also known for having done the music for the Back to the Future movies, Predator and The Avengers.
I was wondering, was this one of The Rock's earlier movies?
Yes, it's a peculiar detail there because this was made before his infamous hero clause in his contract that says that his character has to always win. And in this movie he is basically a background villain who does something terrible in the start of the movie, and then he becomes this monster creature.
it's weird when actors have that kind of clause. They cannot lose.
I only know of 2 actors that has that clause. That's The Rock and Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal, yeah, is infamous.
I don't know of anyone else.
There's probably more.
As for what could have been done differently, I'd like to point out that Anubis is not an evil god. He is the god of physicians and funerary rites. So a more appropriate god for this Scorpion King to swear himself to would have been Set in that case. The largely evil god of the open desert, and sometimes protecting against foreign invaders, sometimes aiding them. So he would be the perfect fit for that kind of thing.
I mean, I also like the kid in the movie, Alex. He's gotten most of his genes from his mother, but that he can read the language and also maybe not read the full thing before thinking, oh, this is what it is. But it's also this. Oh, right, I forgot that part. So it's clear that he has gotten a lot of his mother's genes. So it's very funny.
Yes, it's an interesting detail there. He's about 8 years old and he knows how to read ancient Egyptian. And it's mentioned how he spends more time at the British Museum than he does at home. So he is well educated for his age, so to speak. He has a really fun dynamic with this burly villain, Lochna, who's supposed to guard him when he has this bracelet on. I think they have a very good interplay there between the actors.
I agree with that. I mean, the movie has its flaws, but it's very entertaining.
I also like the pillar scene because it's like a homage to the last movie with all the bookshelves that was falling like domino bricks. So now we have the pillars instead with the same effect.
Yes, he really is son of his mother. So.
I wish we could have more scenes with Issy. I really like that character.
He's a funny character, and I think that he should have gotten some kind of reward by the end, rather than fighting with Jonathan over this pyramid diamond.
Yep.
I mean, he got a kiss on the cheek. That's something.
Yeah, but he won't treasure.
Yeah, I know. You guys have anything else to add?
Where did he get the hot air from?
That is a mystery.
Like we said, there's a lot of plot holes in this movie.
You mentioned specifically needing hot gas to power the balloon. So there's an issue there.
Another thing I just thought about. During the jungle scenes, it's supposedly a jungle that's been untouched for like thousands of years or hundreds of years. Why are there such like wide corridors in between the vegetation? Looks like really good like dirt roads in the jungle, in the untouched jungle.
Maybe they're maintained by these pygmy mummies. Supposed to guard the place.
Yeah, seems plausible. I got nothing more to add.
Same.
Next time we're gonna continue with the Scorpion King spin-off. And then we will see what's happening after that. But stay tuned.
How about more sand, Star Wars movies?
Yeah. Anyhow, I wish you all goodbye for this time, and don't forget to watch, like, and subscribe. See you next time.
Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye.